Dr. P.V. Ramankutti is a visiting professor to Kerala Kalamandalam University, and he retired as a principal from government colleges. He is an eminent scholar in Sanskrit. I welcome him to present to this session in the keynote paper titled Discourse in Dhanurveda, Major Works in Sanskrit. On behalf of Kandalur Sabha and Kandalur Shala, I welcome him to this seminar. Formerly principal of Government College at Kasaragod and worked in several Sanskrit colleges in Kerala. Presently, he is working as a visiting professor to Kerala deemed Kerala Kalamandalam deemed University and chief editor of publication wing of Kanpur Panchangam Publications, and is a syndicate member of the SSUS at Kaladi. So, with his knowledge and experience, he's going to present to the paper. I invite Dr. Bal.
Respected chairman of the session, and then Professor Madhavan Nambudiri and Professor Prasad Joshi, Professor Murli Madhavan, and Dr. Ravi, and a host of other scholars, and also the scholars who are listening to this seminar in India and abroad. I am presenting today a paper on the major Sanskrit works of Dhanurveda, because the discourse in Dhanurveda was rampant in ancient India. So I would like to point out certain works and briefly explain the content of those works also. For your information, I would like to request you, if anybody is more interested in this, I have written a book on Dhanurveda in Malayalam, not in English. And those who are interested can go through that book also, where I have given all the pictures also. In this paper, I have not been able to upload all those ancient pictures, but that book contains it. So with this words, I will read out my paper, and I shall confine myself to the allotted time. And the Dhanurveda is the art and science of ancient Indian warfare. The term Dhanurveda is not confined to the science of archery, the use of bow and arrow alone, and aspects related to it. The word denotes, that is in Sanskrit it is said, Dhanumshi upalakshana dhanuradini shastrani vedyante nyayante anena iti Dhanurveda. So it is a science branch of science, the art and science of dealing with all the weaponry, all the affairs related to ancient Indian warfare, martial arts. The word denotes all that is related to the entire corpus of weapons and their manufacture, practice, as well as uses. In other words, everything that is attached to the institution of war, the art and science of the entire materials of ancient Indian martial arts. So this branch of ancient Indian martial arts and science is traditionally attached. It is traditionally attached to the Yajurveda, and it is one of the 4 Upavedas also, as was told by Dr. Balagopala Prabhu. There is even an entire Sukta in the Atharvaveda dedicated solely to the institution of war. It's 1930. The ancient literature, beginning from the Vedic period, contains a vast store of information on Dhanurveda. The central theme of both our epics revolves around the phenomenon of war, which means a lot of information on Dhanurveda is embedded in such works. The Niti Shastra texts also constitute a rich store of knowledge on Dhanurveda. Besides, a great number of ancient texts are also available on the branch of science, on this branch of science. This points out the rich and varied discourse on Dhanurveda, which was prevalent in ancient India. This institution of war was a part and parcel of ancient Indian social life, and wars were fought even for trivial reasons, causing limitless miseries to large sections of society, especially children and women who are always at the receiving end. And a glaring example of it is the three Parva in the great epic Mahabharata. The heroic age in our past promoted the institution of war, and warmongers, in fact, had been there in every phase of the history. In fact, the history of a society, in a sense, is the history of wars fought and victories won and lost. Large number of weapons and of several kinds were put to use in such wars. The variety and richness of war weapons seen in our ancient texts on Dhanurveda is in a way striking. The present paper pertains to this particular aspect of the topic of Dhanurveda, that is about the major text in it. One's curiosity rises to the maximum when one comes across a great variety of weapons, the strange names and uses in works like the Mahabharata. It is also, there are as many as 24, 27 names in a single chapter. The 155th chapter of the Udyog Parva mentions as many as 27 names of the weapons. So I'll come to that later. So it's also interesting to note the nomenclature of various strategic formations of army, namely Vyuhas, like the Patna Vyuha, the Chakra Vyuha, the Magara Vyuha, the Krauncha Vyuha, Garuda Vyuha, Mandala Vyuha, Vajra Vyuha, and Arthachandra Vyuha, etc. And the ways and the wars fought therein on various days, making use of such ingeniously devised technique of moving army formations. Such strategic formations will have to continuously adapt to the particular situations in the battle. Though the names of several works on Dhanurveda are available, most of them remain in names only. So what is given here is an overview of the available major works in Sanskrit on Dhanurveda. They can be categorized in tune with the way the contents are arranged in the manner shown below. First category of books includes books that deal with principally with other subjects than Dhanurveda, with occasional references to the topic of Dhanurveda. Other books which have occasional reference to Dhanurveda, that is the first category. Then the second category includes works that pertain solely to Dhanurveda. And the third category contains works that deal with Dhanurveda as an ancient Indian Shastra treatise. Some works like that. Not a practical science, only the theory part of it. And then the fourth category means Vedas, Puranas, epics, as well as other classical works which have portions that deal with Dhanurveda. Traditionally, Dhanurveda is divided into four parts. The Vasishtha Dhanurveda Samhita divides Dhanurveda, the entire Dhanurveda into four parts, namely Diksha, Sangraha, Siddha Prayoga, and Prayoga Vidhi. Diksha, as you know, is the period for preparedness, and Sangraha means the understanding of various kind of weaponry, and Siddha Prayoga means a kind of a mastery, effort in mastery of various kinds of weapons, and Prayoga Vidhi, the actual use of the weapons on occasions of war and other occasions too. The reader needs to be cautious while dealing with such works, since there will be a heavy dose of poetic imagination, and one needs to elicit the fact from the fiction. Besides, there are works composed on Dhanurveda, published in modern times also, based on information available from ancient primary sources. Now we come to the major text of the major names of the text and a brief account of the content of such text. The Vasishta Dharurveda Samhita is a work, is one of the major works that deals with the topics of Dharurveda by way of telling and retelling stories from the past. The story, the matter is divided in a way of storytelling. It commences when sage Vishwamitra comes to Vasishta, beseeching the preceptor to teach him Dharurveda. The work with the various techniques of dealing with the various techniques of making bows and arrows, as well as various modes of practice of bow and arrow to be imparted to the students. The antiquity of the work is in doubt, since the work could not have been composed before Shivaji, because Shivaji 630 to 680 CE, the Shivaji Emperor Shivaji is quoted, is mentioned in this text. So it's a later text, perhaps some 16th century CE. And then we come to the Agni Purana. The Agni Purana is an encyclopedic work with 383 chapters in 12,000 verses that deal with several subjects, including Dharurveda. It's an encyclopedia which is dealing with so many topics, as was told by Palayandra Prabhu. It also deals with Stapatya Veda. It cannot be considered a work with a great antiquity. Scholars like P.V. Canning assign it to the 7th century CE. In 4 chapters, beginning from chapter 249 to 252, Agni Purana deals with the Dharurveda, its various aspects, namely various kinds of weapons, details of the practice, modes of the manufacture of swords, and Pasha. Pasha was a kind of weapon, rope. These things have been discussed in detail in this work. Several kinds of targets are also there mentioned. Several targets are also mentioned. The art of hitting the target with the various weapons, the technique of fixing the arrow on the bowstring with swiftness. All these things, of the minute details, have been explained in this particular work. Another treatise on Dharurveda is the Niti Prakashita. The authorship of the work is uncertain, but it is believed to have been composed by one Vaishampayana. A scholar by name Sitaraman has written a commentary for the work called Tattva Vigriddhi. He deals with several aspects of Dharurveda, namely Vyuha Rachana, or strategic formations of army movements, war expedition, construction of war houses for Sibiras or Kainilas, salary of the soldiers, and the like. All these aspects have been discussed in this particular work. It speaks of 4 types of weapons, namely Mukta, Amukta, Mukta, and Mantra Mukta. Mukta means weapons which are released from the hand, weapons which are hurled by hand. Amukta means weapons which are used by holding it in the hand. And Mukta, arms which can be used either as a Mukta weapon or as an Amukta weapon. It can be used by holding it, and it can also be used by hurling it. And also the Mantra Mukta. And the Mantra Mukta, we are familiar with the Divyastras used in the Mahabharata. And certain mantras are there, and these mantras come to the mind of the warrior who uses it. All these things are there in the epics also. So that is another part of the weapon, Mantra Mukta. There is a story in this work about the origin of the weapon sword, how the weapon sword has originated, has come to us. This work gives detailed information on bow and arrow and the technique of hitting the targets. That is very important in course of war, hitting the target, and the prior training of this particular aspect is very important, and that is described in this particular text. A story related to the origin of the Dharurveda is also seen there. This work, Niti Prakashaka, is unfortunately of unknown date. Now we come to the Manasollasa of Somasegara, a work on Dharurveda belonging to the 12th century CE. The book is also known by the name Abhirashitartha Chindamani. The work contains 100 chapters divided into 5 Vimsatis. It underlines the significance of training of various weapons like a khadga, a sword, churiga, etc. The author classifies the trainees into 3 classes, namely Uttama, Madhyama, and Athama. The trainees are divided into such Uttama trainees, Madhyama class of trainees, and Athama class of trainees. The work also gives a detailed description of various kinds of armors. Various kinds of armors made out of the skin of several kinds of animals. Armors made out of the skin of animals. The author also adds how special attention is essential in order to hit the targets which need to be of attractive colors. The target must be of attractive colors in all its subtleties in order to invite the attention. It had also been an entertainment for kings. Hitting the target had also been an entertainment for kings during the ceremonious occasions like the royal marriages. Then we have the Ausanasa Dhanurveda, which is a collection of ancient Indian martial arts from several sources. It's a collection of materials from several other sources also. The work attaches greater importance to the weapon called khadga or sword. The tip of the sword is to be made with careful dexterity, and the author furnishes as many as 12 kinds of swords based on the make of particular tips. They are furnished here and there, and one type is called the Shulagram. Shulagram, the tip of the sword is like a Shula. Shikharagram, and the third one is a Samagram, and the fourth one is Mandalagram, one part of the tip being circular. Swords which are Mandalagras, their tips will be the circular shape. Gojighogram of the shape of the tongue of a cow. Parshvagram, Kutilagram, crooked. The tip of the sword will be crooked. Sahakara Patrangam. Sahakara Patra is mango tree. Its leaf. So the tip of the sword is like the leaf of this mango tree. Ancient mango tree. Then Mandalagram. Then another type of one. There are also references to the weapon called Parashu or axe, which is of 3 kinds, namely Uttama, Madhyama, and Athama. It's also observed that Parashu was used holding it in hand against the enemy. We are familiar with the name Parashurama. Another type of Parashu is also mentioned, which was Panimukta. Another type of Parashu is also mentioned in this text. Panimukta, it is released from the hand against the enemy. Panimukta, or the one that was hurled against the adversary from hand. Other significant names of Dhanurvedic treatises are Loharnava, Veerachintamani, Aparajita Prucha, which mention the names of as many as 28 weapons. Puranic texts like the Patna Purana, the Vishnu Dharmotar Purana also contain valuable information on Dhanurveda. Niti Shastra texts like the Shukra Niti and the Kamantiviya Niti Sara and Manusmriti 2 also are sources of valuable information on the topic of Dharurveda. And in Mahabharata, which was the main theme with the Great War fought in 18 days. In the Udyoga Parva, in its 155 chapter, 156 chapter of the Udyoga Parva, there are as many as 27 weapons mentioned. I want to read all these types, but I will read a few of them. The first weapon is Anugashra. Nothing is known as the Anugashra weapon because Anugashra is mentioned only as a weapon. No detail is known. And then with the Tunira or the cure of many kinds. Many kinds of Tunira, there is Varutha is there, the Nishanga is there, and so many other names also for the cure. The Avanadi. And the Tomara is there, the Ritti is there, and Ritti is swords with both ends. Swords with both ends are sharpened. Such a swords are called Ritti, And another kind of Tomara is there, a kind of a spear which can be hurled against the enemy. And the Upasanga is there, it is also another kind of cure. And the kind of gum dust is there. A kind of gum dust, was also used as a weapon, kind of gum. Then various kinds of armors were used. Various kinds of armors were used in war. And then the another weapons like Jalopalam, etc., whose nature is not known. And then there is another weapon called Bhindibala and Parika, kind of a long stick, iron stick. And then there is the Gada, of course, and the Prasa is there, and the Vanmadi is there, and the armors with the thorny armors are also there, and various kinds of pashas. Not a single kind of pasha, various kinds of pashas also there. So in the ancient text, bear testimony to a variety of so many weapons which were put in use in wars. So the Dharurveda was a much developed technical science in ancient India, and so many manuscripts are also there, which are yet to be deciphered, which are yet to be discovered, and work or research on it need to be carried out. So my purpose in presenting this paper is to bring to notice the scholars the rich information contained in this particular branch of learning in ancient India about the use of the weapons, the name of the weapons, and the practice of the weapons, and the wars fought in which these weapons were extensively used during ancient times. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patient listening. Over.
Thank you, sir.